Now,
Mm.
welcome to another episode, Pound for Pound Box Report. I'm your host, Michael. Joining me this week, uh, Gail from Communities Digital News, uh, both from Three Kings Boxing and Truth and Facts About Sports. Daniel from the Inscriber. What's going on, lady and gents?
Going on, guys?
Right.
Chavez is at Gail's house.
No, no, we're not hearing glass break right now.
Oh my God. I did see there is video of our buddy Chavez Jr. Working out at his house right now.
You mean he's daring to show his face after he embarrassed himself against Jacobs?
Hey man,
You know,
Chavez.
Again?
Hey
yes,
man. Hey, according to
yes, he
Chavez, his
is.
his nose was broken. He had a legit excuse. You know what I'm saying? Skip the fact your ear hangs off. Skip the fact you break your hand and you keep fighting or twist your knee. Skip all that. That fighters can do it. Man, a broken nose. Come on, man. You can't. I guess you can't fight with a broken nose.
Look, man,
Yeah, yeah.
his own
Watch,
dad
guys,
did the
fight.
face.
Yeah, his dad did the face. That's all we need to know. Case closed.
Right.
His
Let's
his dad had that look like I should have got a DNA test.
You can tell what show it's gonna be like already just from this.
Absolutely. For those who are new to Pound Box Report, Pound Box Report live YouTube show, podcast, as well as blog discussing all things boxing. The motto is when boxing is good, we will talk about it. When it's bad, we will talk about it. Bottom line is, if it concerns the sweet science, we will talk about it. If you want to find out all information about Pound Box Report, the blog page is the place to hit up. I know I hadn't posted up there in a while, but it's coming. It's coming. It's on its way. I've been delayed and switching RSS feeds and all that other stuff. Um, Check the top right of the blog page to find links to where to find us all over social media, Facebook, Twitter, and whatnot, and also links to where to find us on all platforms that carry RSS feeds, minus SoundCloud, because for the time being we're not on SoundCloud. Um, Links to where you can donate, got a Cash Me and PayPal donation link, and links, last and certainly not least, links to my online fitness page. I am an online coach for Beachbody. I've been under the weather for the past week or so. I'm just getting back to myself. So I hadn't had any Let's Build Together fitness challenges, but I hope to have one next month. Hope to have Gail and Daniel take part and sign up for Beachbody in 2020. Uh, if you're interested in any fitness challenges, if you're interested in any programs like the hot new program, 6 weeks of the work, P90X stuff, the PIO stuff, which the ladies I know really like, the Insanities and stuff like that, Body by Beast and other programs, as well as stuff like Shakeology and whatnot, please check out my online fitness link on Pound for Pound Box Report blog page. Let's get things going by recapping what went down this weekend.
Hold on,
Uh
hold on, Mike. I just want to
huh.
say that I would love to participate, but if I'm going to participate, you have to wear LSU national championship
You
shirt.
know what? You know what? Don't make me kick you off the show, sir.
Oh, oh, God. Okay.
For folks who may not know, I am a Clemson Tiger football fan, and they took it on the chin against LSU. Truth be told, LSU was the better team going in, and they gave it they all, made some mistakes, but LSU did what they were supposed to do, really, and congratulations to them. They ain't gonna win it next year, though. I tell you that because they're losing everybody, lose their coordinator, losing all those players. They ain't gonna win it next year. I tell you that. Um, Back to boxing. Let's get things going by recapping what went down this past weekend, and starting the show with ladies first as usual. And we got our first upset of the new year as Julian J. Rock Williams making the first defense of his BA IBF junior middleweight titles in his hometown of Philadelphia. Uh, fighting by the name of Rosario. Jeison, um, Rosario, and yeah, fight didn't go along as expected. As J Rock did not just lose, he got stopped in round 5, and for me, Gail, this was very reminiscent of his loss to Charlo, which coincidentally lasted the same amount of rounds. And what I mean by that is J Rock was doing well early, but he ultimately, when J Rock faces a really big, strong guy with a good jab and who has power, he is in trouble. You saw it with the Charlo fight. I thought he had learned from that. And on a side note, folks from Three Kings are going to kill me in the meeting this coming week because I thought J Rock had gotten better. He got egg on my face. Rosario, he got off with the jab early. You can tell that the right hand gave J Rock problems. The power Rosario gave J Rock problems. And once he hurt him with that left hook, he swarmed and finished him off. Another irony, the same uppercut that Rosario badly hurt J Rock with was the same uppercut that Charlo badly hurt J Rock with. So in many ways, this is just like deja vu. Uh, Given the circumstances, devastating loss for Julian J. Rock Williams. Your reaction?
Live by the sword, die by the sword. I mean, Williams knows what it's like to come in as the underdog and win. And then the tables got turned on him in his homecoming fight. J Rock hadn't fought in Philadelphia since 2011. That surprised me. I didn't realize it until I verified it. So there was a lot of more pride on the line than anything else. You know, he wanted to have a good showing in front of the hometown crowd. But, you know, sometimes the opponent, the B-side guy, forgets to read the script and writes his own. And here we've got this young, ambitious Dominican fighter, determined, was going to give it everything he had. And to your point, Michael, don't you think he and his trainer watched every bit of video they could of Williams, looked for those vulnerabilities, and went right after them, like poking a sore, like poking a bruise on your arm? They just went right after him. And it worked to perfection. It really did. He was prepared. He was in tremendous shape. And he was not going to let the least little bit of opportunity get by him. I mean, if he sensed J Rock was in trouble, he had landed a punch that scored. Man, he followed up with a when he did that in the 5th round, those last couple of punches, you could tell, even though Williams was on his feet, he was getting an assist from the ropes, first of all. And referee Benji Estevez, who's a real veteran, was right in him, right on top of him, looked at his face. And even from an angle provided by a television camera, you could tell he was in a world of hurt. Those eyes were rolling back in his head. And it was a good stoppage. He wasn't on the canvas, but he did not need to be. He was done. And here we've got early, not even 20 days gone in January, and we've got the first big upset of the year candidate. Really a big surprise.
I'll go to you, Bo, and then you can follow up, Daniel. The level of surprise when either you saw the fight live or watched or heard about the result. What is it with J Rock that when he what is it about J Rock that comes up with these kind of performances? Is it the fact that he's a weak chin? Is it something from a technical aspect that's missing from him? Because you didn't see this when he fought Jarrett Hurd and won the titles last year and one of the best fights of 2019. But again, going back to the Charlo fight, going back to this fight with Rosario, some odd vulnerabilities there.
Yeah, first of all, let me say this. I know we're saying this is one of the early upsets, but there were two early upsets that for me that happened prior to this, and that's when Elian Cederos beat Alicia Napoleon Espinoza, and then Alejandro Jimenez beat Jeison Cruz. Those were big upsets in women boxing also as well, because nobody had either one of these women scouted. People were looking at Espinoza and Jeison Cruz probably fighting the crown undisputed. So
duly noted. You're right about that.
Yeah, that was big. But Julian J. Rock Williams is he's an inconsistent fighter. Here's the thing. Jarrett Hurd had a sign on him that says, gonna get my ass whooped soon. If you watch how he fought Austin Trout and how he fought Eslani Lauder, the only reason why he was able to beat them because those dudes were, they was kind of up in age and they didn't have any legs. Now he gets in there with Julian J. Rock, a young dude, has legs, has some skill, and he just struggled, right? So you got a guy in Jarrett Hurd who was up against somebody that was able to turn some of the things that he used as an advantage into a disadvantage, which is, he had young legs versus somebody else with young legs. And then when you look at Julian J. Rock struggled with the C, maybe D- level fighter by the name of Nathaniel Gillimore, who knocked out Jeison Rosario. That's why, like, when fans do this whole triangle theory, or they say, "Oh, this guy shouldn't fight this guy because of that." No, you can't go by that. So he struggled. He really struggled against Nathaniel Gillimore, and it was that fight. If you watch that fight, J Rock is another one of those dudes that he has that inconsistent up and down performance, and it's like when you look at him, you're like, man, this dude is an L waiting to happen. And what I like about what we are seeing and what I like about the 154-pound division is this: it is unpredictable as hell, and that's what makes the division exciting. Like, I don't like fights. I don't like divisions where you can look at it and you can say, oh man, this guy's gonna run the table. I don't like that. I like excitement. If you look at 154 right now, you don't know what the hell's gonna happen. You really don't. These guys are talented. They're bringing it. Like Gail said, they're not afraid anymore of the moment. Like, I like when you have a division where like it used to be back in the old days. I like when the contenders were not afraid to get in there and go ape shit with the champions. And too many times you have that going on in boxing today, that sometimes, these guys buy into the, okay, I'm going to get beat and all that, so I'm just going to go in there and get a check. No, man, this is a very good division. You got some very good matchups, and you can look at this division and you can't really clear cut say who's the man, because I would like to see J Rock versus Tony Harrison. I think that's still a good fight. I would like to see, because Tony Harrison has some skill. He really is. He's slick. He can box. He can move. Now he got caught from being, from playing around when he fought Charlo. But I would like to see Tony Harrison and Jeison Rosario. That's a good matchup. So you have a lot of good fights there at 154. Jarrett Hurd is still in the mix. Eslani Lauder is still up there. So it's just what you have is styles to make fights, and that was a bad style matchup for J Rock, because the guy he fought he looked at obviously like the bigger man, and he had a higher skill set than they realized. And he came in the ring and he brought it, and you saw not just holes in his defense, but you saw the inability to make adjustments by J Rock, and that also played an effect in this. Like what Gail said, I believe that Rosario team scouted and say, man, this guy can't make adjustments. And they saw that. Like, if you watch the Nathaniel Gillimore fight, same thing there. He made no adjustments in that fight. He won, but he made no adjustments. So excellent, man. Listen, excellent fight. I think J Rock, J Rock could be back. Like, I give him this. J Rock got some heart. He got knocked down, got up, and still wanted to fight. So he has heart. But sometimes these Philadelphia fighters, it's too much of that in them. Like, you sometimes you can't go in this ring thinking I'm a Philadelphia fighter, or you can't go in there thinking, now that I'm the champion, I've all of a sudden elevated this. No, you have to go in that ring thinking that I'm a champion and I'm still hungry like I'm a challenger.
I'll take it to you, Daniel. J Rock, to your point, Bo, he has, in the aftermath, he gave Rosario credit. He says also there's a rematch clause. He wants to run it back. ASAP, your reaction to what you saw, Daniel. Give me a breakdown.
A lot of it has to do with what Bo said. Styles make fights. Styles legitimately make fights in this instance. And when it comes to J-Rock, there's a style he can't win. It's somebody that's a little bit bigger than him, probably a little bit slicker than him, and who he doesn't really take seriously. Because let's be honest, did any of us take Rosario seriously as a legitimate challenger outside of the old adage that everyone's always a puncher's chance? Not many people did. But that's all you need in boxing. You need that puncher's chance. You need a chance to show. And that was always the great flaw when I noticed it. I love the fact about noticing he made no adjustments. J-Rock made absolutely no adjustments. I'm looking at it, and I'm seeing, like, how is he letting that right hand land almost at will? And then I did what everybody else did. I looked back at the Charlo fight. I'm like, it's the same thing. It's the same thing.
It was the counter. It was counter right hand over and over and over.
Yeah, I'm just looking at like what's going on here. But then I'm starting to. Then I start to look at it, and the situation is simple. J-Rock is a type of fighter, and there's always going to be types of fighters who always have that foil, that one style that they just can't get past. And it looks like in the case of J-Rock, that's the style. And because Rosario's team did pretty much take that blueprint from Charlo fight and just completely copied it and mastered it. I haven't seen that. I haven't seen that style or that type of fight where somebody copied it since, at least in a fight where when there's a young guy. It reminded me of the first Morales fight with Pacquiao. Because we have to remember, like, he studied the tapes of, I think, the previous Pacquiao fights, and he saw how he leapt. And ultimately became a good fight. And Rosario's team has to be given all credit. They did perfect scouting when it came to this fight. Now, the other thing that I want to definitely agree with Bo, definitely want to agree with Gail is, I'm not surprised by this because this division is insane right now. Even with the people that are around the periphery that are maybe in the prime, you have to look at the Kell Brooks, the Munguias. We mentioned either Charlo, obviously J-Rock, Tony Harrison. Like, there's a lot of good fighters in this division, so you can't really just take it as, oh, this is going to be an easy win. This fight actually shows that how deep this division is. And I definitely want to see Rosario versus Harrison. Because to me, that'll be a good fight. I wouldn't mind seeing Rosario against either Maul or Mel. And it just shows that no matter what happens, there's always, every good fighter does have a style that he just can't beat. And it looks like this is the style that J-Rock, for all the skills that he has, because the pattern is always made like he does well. Like, he's not like he's getting embarrassed. For all he does well, he just can't overcome it in the end.
Going off of what you just said, both Daniel and Bo, assuming these two fight again, do you see the same conclusion?
Yeah, that would be based off of Rosario's mindset. If Rosario pull a Andy Ruiz, then he'll lose. But if he can come in there still hungry, still keep, like he has to come in as if, okay, this is round 13 and keep going. He can't take, like, he has to anticipate maybe J-Rock will have a new game plan, but what he has to do is, in his mind, he can't fall into the trap that we saw Julian fall into, which is, you heard Julian talking, and I don't know if it was me, But Julian looked a little, I'm not going to say soft, but he didn't look the same. Like he didn't look like he didn't look like he trained the same way like he did for Jarrett Hurd. He looked really solid for Jarrett Hurd. He didn't look the same in this fight also. So it depends on how Rosario comes into if he goes and he takes this seriously and he takes this like, hey, I'm trying to be a champion forever, then I could see the same thing because his skill set, you saw the skill set along with the power was there. You know what it reminded me of? Reminded me of Kovalov when he fought Andre Ward. We all knew Kovalov had power, but we didn't know that Kovalov had that type of a skill set. And that's the same thing that I saw in Rosario.
Quickly, Daniel and Gail, I posed the same question to you. Let's assume these two run it back. Do you expect the same result that we just saw?
Right now, based on the evidence, I have to because unless J-Rock fundamentally does look into how he lost both this fight and the Charlo fight, how both styles were pretty similar, yeah, you're going to run into the same result. Unless you fundamentally change, you fundamentally make an adjustment. Now, that doesn't mean like, oh, you got to change your team, you got to change your trainers and everything, but it takes time to study it. It takes time to understand that what makes this particular style bad for you. And I do believe they'll probably run it back. I have to give Rosario the edge right now. We just have to look to see how J-Rock responds. And also, like Bo mentioned, if Rosario winds up pulling any Reed situation where he doesn't take the match seriously, yeah, there's a chance. But for right now, I have to pick him.
Same thing for you, Gail?
Yeah, I think we're going to see a repeat performance do. Reminds me of a lot. It reminds me of Andrew Cancio and Alberto Machado. And when they rolled it back, it absolutely sick. And I think we're going to time is a styles make fights issue, and a guy just has your number. Because we saw that with Cancio with Machado, and then he goes for a rematch of Rene Alvarado, when Alvarado, frankly, kicked his ass. I think sometimes it's the matchup itself. So is it suddenly has lost all his skills? No, not at all. But he ran the guy.
Having some technical issues on Gail's part. She keeps going in and out. Unfortunately, hopefully we can get that fixed during the show. Excuse me. Let's move on to main undercard from this PBC on Fox card that took place Saturday evening. I'll put this on you, Daniel. Unfortunately, you had Chris Colbert fighting former junior lightweight world titleist Jezreel Corrales. Colbert won, but the fight itself, boring. That was frustrating to watch. My ADD started to kick in at points. Ugly fight. I don't know what to think of it because I think that Colbert is a decent fighter, but he was in there against a guy hard to look good against. As a result, you saw what you saw, which was not a pleasing fight to the eye, booing at parts, both from the folks in the building and on boxing social media. When I checked after, when I was sneak checking what was going down at work, yeah, that was not good from both fighters. But Colbert, he got the win, and it's onward and upward for a young, promising fighter.
Oh my God. I just watched the highlights, yeah, and I was falling asleep. It's it's pretty bad. Now we have to take into account Corrales. He tends to make those type of fights. He makes fights mainly difficult to watch. But this was just, oh my god, this was bad. Like this. This is why, like, okay, you need to pack the undercover with a similar theme. Like, yeah, granted, the main event made up for it with the knockout, but this was this was bad. That's all I can say. Like, this was bad enough where I was watching the highlights and I turned off the video because I either was gonna get a headache or I was just gonna just delete it, just close everything out of boredom.
Yeah, same thoughts from you, Bo, on this fight.
Man, it's very interesting about this because I think that this was for the interim title too, wasn't it? The WB wasn't it? Was this for the WB interim title? If I'm
Yes.
not mistaken, yeah. And yeah, I'm listen. I'm not gonna lie. I have been and suffering from constipation, and by round two, I was all cleared up. Thank you. But I definitely want to tell Chris Colbert I appreciate that. I think this is one of those things where you had a young guy in Chris Colbert going up against a veteran guy in Jezreel Corrales, and he didn't want to take any chances. It's almost like he knew what he was in there against. He knew what position he was in, and he followed the old motto that win and then look good later. And that's kind of what he took. He just was like, listen, I'm just gonna win, and I'll just worry about looking good later. But boxing is a sport to where you have to give people reasons to want to come see you. And unfortunately, this type of performance, his next performance is going to have to be a first round knockout, or people are going to be like, I'm not wasting my time with this dude again.
Yeah, I go to you, Gail. Beforehand, people was talking Colbert along the lines of the other young and upcoming fighters, the Haneys, the the Tank Davises, uh, uh, the Garcias, Ryan Garcia at 130. Can't talk about him no more in that realm after this fight because he's a clear level below. Given this performance, that fight stunk on ice.
No amount of flashy outfits and hair is going to cover up how bad that performance was. I mean, he got the win, but that was the only thing good to come out of it at all. Bo is absolutely right. It, and Daniel's right too. Everybody's right. You know, it really just couldn't have been worse timing for him to pull out that sort of a poor performance on the big stage. So the pressure is on him, and he is in no way ready to take on a big name fight. So back to the drawing board for him. Something's got to change. I'm not sure what it is, but that's going to be up to his team to find out.
I mean, don't want to be too critical of him because let's face it, Roy Jones, he didn't look great when he beat Hopkins for the vacant belt. Uh, Shane Mosley didn't look great when he beat Philip Holiday for the lightweight title. So you don't want to be a Debbie Downer. You don't want to be too critical of him. But yeah, next time you see him in the ring, he has to perform a lot better than that if he wants to get big fights, if he wants to get big money, if he wants to get attention, put himself in a position to get big fights and make big money. I'm gonna reserve my judgment a little bit to see what happens when he fights later on in the year. The next time you see him in the ring. But yeah, that was that was bad. That performance, he won, but he didn't look good doing so. Going to you, Bo, to talk about Storm Alvarez on the same night as this doubleheader on PBC, on Fox PBC on Fox. You had Elieder Alvarez fighting on ESPN. Turns out to be very much of an eliminator. We'll talk about why is it an eliminator afterwards. Storm Alvarez made big splash, defeating Kovalev, upsetting Kovalev uh, uh, for the title in late 2018, I believe it was. Um, Lost the belt in his first title defense in February 2019. He's been on the shelf due to a partially torn Achilles. Returns to the ring to fight Michael Seals. And one, this is what an experienced fighter is supposed to do when faced with a guy who may have power, but himself is limited in terms of his experience. Alvarez stopping Seals in round 7. That's the first thing I want to say. Second thing, in watching the fight, I don't get what the ESPN crew, Osuna, the guy you call Timothy Sadley, I don't know what they were watching, but what was on their minds was they was making this fight out to be such a struggle for Alvarez, because to me, he controlled the fight from jump. He got off with the jab, he got off with the movement. For a tall guy, Seals didn't know how to use his height and his length. For me, Alvarez, he had control from jump all the way until that sensational right hand in round 7 that put Seals down and out. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I honestly speaking, Mike, I couldn't tell you what the commentary was because I watch fights, especially now. I watch fights with the sound off, so I can get my own view of it. I'd heard that they were saying some things, just like Joe Guzin was saying some things. Listen, I'm gonna tell you this though. I'm not surprised by if there was some commentary that made it look like Elieder Alvarez was struggling. Generally speaking, if you don't know how a guy fights, or you remember a guy from his last fight, that kind of sticks with you, right? And I mean, let's face it, we did not know what Elieder Alvarez we were going to get. I like what I saw because you're right. Elieder Alvarez coming off of that injury and that loss, coming off the loss, then getting injured, had to make a statement in a division that is just as hot, like light heavyweight division. Like this is when Roy Jones should have been a light heavyweight when all of this was going on, right? The light heavyweight division is probably the most stacked, talented division in all of freaking boxing, and they're making moves because now you got unifications. Although people are still acting like Bilal don't exist, but eventually you're gonna have to get to them. So he makes a statement that, hey, wait a minute, I'm still here. Don't go making plans. I'm still right here. You're gonna have to deal with me. And he did it against, like you said, a low-level competition guy. And this is the one thing that I used to tell people about when they would talk about Gennady Golovkin and his level of competition. I said, well, the one thing about him, and I like it, is he gets the guys out of there. He's like, okay, you're lower than me, so I'm gonna get you. I'm gonna go ahead on. I'm gonna go ahead on and get your ass on up out of there. So I definitely like that. With Jesse Hart losing to Joe Smith Jr. now, because I was the mind frame. If Jesse Hart wins, he might fight Gilberto Ramirez for that vacant WBO belt. So with Jesse Hart losing, which is incredible, which is funny because Joe Smith Jr. wasn't even ranked. So don't be surprised if you see Elieder Alvarez and Gilberto Ramirez fight for that WBO vacant belt. And then you'll see Artur Beterbiev and the winner of that probably fight sometime later on in the year. So I like what's going on in light heavyweight right now. You still got some top level challengers. You got Joshua Buatsi. You got Marcus Brown. He's still hanging around with his punk ass. You still got Alexander Gavazic. Is still there. Anthony Yard. So that division is prime for a blow up fights to be taking place in 2020.
Well, to give some backstory here on what Bo was talking about in terms of Joe Smith, Bob Arum, before the fight, he announced that the winner of this fight between Storm Alvarez and Seals would fight Joe Smith Jr. for the vacant WBO title at light heavyweight, the belt that was recently vacated by Canelo Alvarez. And you ask, what about Gilberto Ramirez Zurdo, who's ranked number 1, I believe? Well, the issue with that is that Zurdo is at the present time, and I'll go to you, Gail. Zerto is trying to break himself away from Top Rank, and given the power and the pull that Top Rank has, they can go if Zerto Ramirez wants to do that or trying to do that. They can move right around him and just say, "Okay, you want to
Hold
leave
on.
me? You get no title shot."
Yeah, hold on. I'm sorry. I got to say this before Gail go, and I apologize. What the fuck has Gilberto Ramirez done to where he think he can pull some shit like this? Like, I'm serious. Like, what the fuck has he done? Like, when you look at guys with 45, he has the weakest resume of anybody with 40 fights I've ever seen. Like, he has quietly been in 2 divisions that have been jumping and have done nothing, no unification. So what the fuck has he done to where he think he can strong arm Bob Arabs?
The only pull Zurdo Ramirez has, other than his record on paper, is the fact that he draws the Spanish-speaking audience. That's it. But you know what? So does Alvarez. So never mind, Zurdo. Yeah, Zurdo and Uncle Bob, Grandpa Bob, if you prefer, are on the outs with each other. Ramirez has got some beef with him about the fact that he's more or less been sitting on the sidelines with all this other action going on, and he wants out. Well, be careful what you wish for, because Top Rank is where all the light heavyweight action is, with a few rare exceptions, and those rare exceptions tend to be folks that also can do business with DAZN, so our Top Rank, pardon me, including DAZN, who can. So Zurdo needs to be very, very careful what he wishes for. As for Alvarez, this was a smart performance. This was a golden opportunity for him to test his injury, to put in some rounds, get a little of that rust if it was starting to accumulate, start to knock it off a little bit. And here's what's so funny. Alvarez, who has never been known as a power puncher, suddenly become a power puncher. Go figure. I mean, that one shot against Colbert was a stunner. Nobody saw that coming. And the punch he landed on Michael Seals was a thing of beauty. We had our first upset of the year candidate in the Williams fight. Now we've got our first knockout of the year candidate here in the Alvarez-Seals fight. That was a perfect performance for the circumstances for Alvarez. People got a look at him. He got comfortable in there. Now he knows, yeah, I'm back. I'm good. I can deliver. That's the confidence he's going to need going into a fight with one of the other top names of the division. And Alvarez is a real problem for a lot of these guys because he's got more tools than just a single power punch. He's difficult. He's a skilled boxer. He can stay away from a guy like Beterbiev, potentially. And when Alvarez finds the opening he wants, he knows how to make that punch land. When he sees it, he can take it every time. It's going to be very, very interesting to see how he's matched. And I look forward to that next fight, whoever it's against.
Yeah, I go to you, Daniel. Storm reestablishing himself as a name in the light heavyweight division, coming off of the 2 Corrales fights, and then the way that this fight ended. I mean, shoot, it made top 10 Sports Center highlights, for goodness sake. Couldn't have gone any better for him.
Yeah, that was probably the best performance he could put up as far as rehabbing his image, as far as his stand in light heavyweight division. Like, we have to agree, Bo, like, once again, this is one of the most stacked divisions in the sport right now. And it's it's an interesting timetable, given now that Zurdo, I get where Zurdo's coming from in a way. When you have somebody trying to promise you that you're going to be the next Canelo, and then you watch the Canelo invade the division that you were supposed to be in, fight the guy you probably were supposed to fight and win, and then just leave like that. Yeah, I get the frustration. But here's the situation now. Yes, right. Like, yeah, he only appeals to the Spanish-speaking audience, but only the Mexican audience. Alvarez, because of where he resides, he has to pull for both the Spanish-speaking audience and the French-Canadian speaking audience. So he has even more of a pull than Zerto does. And I do like his performance. I do want to see how him and Joe Smith Jr. are going to do because, like, obviously, Joe Smith is from the area where I live at right now. Like, literally the day after the fight, I think he was working his company, Tree Services. They even put it up on Instagram. And you see he puts in work, and when he dedicates to a fight, he does it. So it's going to be interesting for me to see what that situation is, because we have to remember, in the fight against Bibble, it wasn't so much like that Joe Smith was like being clobbered. He was just being outclassed. It was a different style of opponent, but he never was in any real actual trouble. It's going to be interesting to see how he's going to do with Morales, who, unlike Bibble, and this has been one of my main criticisms against Bibble for a while, is once he sees that it's going to be a tough out, Alvarez is still going to try to go for the knockout. Bibble doesn't. So I'm going to see how Joe Smith does in that instance.
And even in the loss to Bivol, he buckled him a couple times. So yeah, the next fight for Alvarez is a fight for a light heavyweight title bout against Joe Smith is going to be intriguing. How Seals is a guy who can punch, but he doesn't know how to get there. Joe Smith, as limited as people may think he is, he at least knows how he has the ability to get there with power. And when he lands, anything can happen. Very intriguing bout. Stay tuned to Pound for Pound Box Report or to Three Kings Boxing, where Bo and I reside, for the latest and greatest in terms of when that bout will be announced. Slight plug, Bo. Let's move on to some news here.
One last word on Alvarez. There is one undisputed fact. He has the best eyebrows in boxing.
Oh dear. Really?
Absolutely. Hey, I'm dead serious about that. Check it, people.
That's that French Canadian shit right there. That's motherfucking mani petties and shit.
Oh no, I think it's that Colombian shit, man. His stuff is sharp.
Oh dear.
No, I have to agree with Gail on that one. It's the Colombians. Like, there are plenty of Colombian salons that will make you look like that. I haven't seen any French Canadian ones that would do it.
Yeah, I was in Cartagena myself, and you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right.
That man is trim sharp, let me tell you.
We've devolved to talking about dude's eyebrows. I cannot. Let's move on to some news here.
Wait a minute. We started the show talking about Chavez Jr. and various other issues. I don't think we could have devolved.
Whatever. Let's get to some news here. I didn't mention it in the docket, so I'm going to leave it open to you guys. If there's any news that you want to talk about here right quick before we start to preview some fights, because it's going to be a relatively short show. The floor is yours.
I am going to jump in. We talked about Chris Colbert and needing to make an impression. And we mentioned the name Ryan Garcia. Well, Garcia has a fight main event coming up on Valentine's Day. Do you love it? The heartthrob, the Justin Bieber of boxing, fighting on Valentine's Day. So he did a media workout today up in Los Angeles, and he was very firm about the fact that he will fight 4 times this year. He was challenged on that, and he said, yes, absolutely, 4 times. No ifs, ands, or buts. The idea is that he gets past this fairly, hopefully easy opponent for him. And should Jorge Linares win in his fight on the undercard, that you're going to see Garcia versus Linares next, which is an excellent test for the younger fighter. And the third fight was to be determined, but he was also equally adamant he will fight Tank Davis at the end of the year. Serious, feels he's ready. He looked good today. We can laugh about him all we want, but we just had a long discussion about Chris Colbert not being able to deliver. Ryan Garcia, when he has been called upon to deliver, he has delivered. So let's see what he does here in a couple of weeks. And it'll be a very interesting year if he can deliver everything he claims he's going to this year. It's going to be quite the year for this young man.
Bet you that fight will happen because Floyd will be willing to put him in there in the ring against Garcia.
I think he will. It'll be interesting to see how he does. Assuming he gets past this first fight, assuming he gets past Linares and looks good, can he stop him? Good question. Third fight, we'll see who Goldmullet comes up with for him. And hopefully it's the right fight to prep him if they're serious. And then we do get that Tank Davis fight. And if those two guys tangle in the fourth quarter of this year, bravo to everybody involved. That's exactly what should happen. These guys should be heading straight at each other with a plan and execute it and deliver for the fans. And then the fans wouldn't be so damn frustrated all the time when these matchups take the time they do to come about, or sometimes just never happen. That's why we all get so crazy from time to time. So good news. Let's now see if it'll pay off.
Before I go to Bo and Daniel, I'll give a little bit of news here. I wrote about this for Three Kings Boxing last week. Kosei Tanaka, a fighter we talked about a lot on this podcast, who is current WBO flyweight champion. Well, the WBO, his team, Tanaka's team, made a petition, to have him named as a super champion, which was granted by the WBO. Why is that important? Number one, it gives him something that all fighters cherish, particularly fighters who are really smart about things, who are thinking long term. It gives him options. What options do I mean? By him being named super champion under the WBO guidelines, what that means is that, one, he's not necessarily tied to any immediate mandatories, giving him the option to unify in the division, A. B, it gives him also the option of him being named a number one contender should he decide to move either up or down a division. It's important for Tanaka because after his last fight on the 31st of 2019 in the big show in Japan, the two things that he said he wanted to do for this coming year is A, fight in a unification bout in his current division at 112, and he also wants to move up to win a title at 115 pounds, that presumably being against Kazuto Ioka, who has a WBO title at 115 pounds. So I want to mention that because it's very smart, very shrewd move by Tanaka and his handlers. It's also smart in terms of the WBO because it keeps him in the fold there, so everybody wins in that regard. The WBO keeps Tanaka in the fold. He's becoming a main guy, a main name, a star when it comes to the lighter weight divisions. He's attaining power now, and he has the avenue to maneuver in and around basically anywhere he wants in that 112, 115 pound range. So I just wanted to give that bit of news. I'll go to you, Daniel. Any news that you want to talk about, or Bo? Anything you want to talk about from our brethren over at Three Kings?
Yeah, you're talking about Kosei Tanaka. I just want to add that Cal Yafai and Roman Gonzalez are going to be fighting each other. This is a fight that Yafai has been looking for. It's a fight that he needs. We've always questioned him not, fighting some of the top guys. So you got that. But what I want to talk about is Gary Russell Jr. and a one Tevin Farmer. Now, Gary Russell claimed that he broke his foot off in Tevin Farmer's ass, and Tevin Farmer was like, okay, come on up here, because Russell was saying he wasn't going to even stop at 130. He was going to go straight to 135 because he's chasing Leo Santa Cruz. He's chasing Leo Santa Cruz, and he's been at it. He may even want to, try to get their revenge with Vasily Lomachenko. Listen, this is a fight to me that I think that after these guys win, if the Philly curse don't carry, and Tevin Farmer beat Jojo Diaz, which is a tough fight for Tevin Farmer, I may add, and Gary Russell, who's going to get past his guy, this is a fight I think they need to seriously talk about and make happen. both of these guys need to fight someone of the other one's caliber. Gary Russell Jr. should be a pound for pound guy. He just does not fight enough, but he has the skill set and the ability to be one. Tevin Farmer, who is up and on the rise, that would be a good fight for them because Russell didn't get Leo Santa Cruz, Farmer didn't get Tank Davis. So these guys should definitely look to fight each other. So I'm hoping that if they get past their respective challenges, that's a fight that we can be talking about these guys, meeting each other at 130 pounds or even at some catch weight or something. Because again, the thing that takes away from a lot of guys, like a lot of fighters are very good and very talented, but what's missing is them having that name on their resume or being in that one fight where we can gauge them. And this is what it is. Tevin Farmer missed Tank Davis. Russell missed Leo Santa Cruz. Like, that's the fight that both of them needed. So when you can't get it, fight each other. And I definitely hope that happens.
The key word for me is if. I think Farmer will beat Diaz, but I will say this. It would not be a complete shock if Russell was to lose that mandatory fight he has coming up. That guy, people don't know much about him. Nyambar, he can fight. He doesn't have the number of fights in terms of experience, but in terms of pure skill, he can fight. And he can really, really punch. So Russell will be the favorite, but he's going to have a tough one on his hands in that fight. I'm just saying that here and now. I'll go to you, Daniel. Any news you want to break right here before we preview some fights?
Let me take a look here. Let me take a look, because that first of all, the Tanaka news, everybody knows that the only name right there, he's chasing Kazuto. Everybody knows that one. And as far as Gary Russell, he has to prove to me that he's actually going to fight after June 1st. Don't talk to me about Gary Russell Jr. if he's going to do this 1 year. Oh, I'm just fighting 1 year and then wear a Hotep chain deal. You're too good of a fighter for only to do that. Now, let me see. What other news are there? Let me see. Let's see. Well, obviously, that's interesting. Yeah, I forgot about Friday. I don't know if you guys spoke to this on Friday, but obviously, the big switcheroo at heavyweight would happen with Kawaki. We all thought we were going to get Jonathan Brazil. Now we're getting Robert Helenius, which is actually a pretty decent fight. Helenius is a decent European level fighter. But other than that, the only news that you're going to see is not even news, it's just speculation. Because we talked about UFC 246, and what was one of the first names that was out of Dana White's mouth when mentioning future opponents for McGregor?
Oh, God. Let's not.
Yeah.
Let's not.
Because because it leads to it can lead to an even worse scenario. You know my worst case scenario when it comes to Floyd Mayweather. It can lead to Floyd doing that out of spite. And enough people will be suckered into it. And I just hope not. Just give McGregor to Masvidal, have Masvidal beat the shit out of him, and then have him be dismissed, because that was the only thing people were talking about. Oh, McGregor can be Floyd now because he does shoulder strikes, and just like what the.
And it didn't help that Floyd was out there. It didn't help that Floyd was out there posting pics of him and McGregor and him and Khabib. Let's not.
Oh, Floyd is a world-class troll, and I say that with the greatest admiration. He got himself right in the hot discussion of the evening. Now, props to him. But I don't think that whatever happens in UFC involving Floyd is going to be inside the octagon. He and Dana White have been having a very, very long conversation about something. His name keeps coming up with Dana in conversation, and all he'll say is some variation of enough, I suppose. But there's no fight going to happen. Are you kidding? Not going to happen.
Yeah, it probably will not happen, and it should not happen. That's all I'll say about that. Let's move on to preview some fights here. Two main fights I want to talk about happening this coming Saturday, January 25th. I believe at Barclays. I believe it's the locale in Brooklyn. Headliner is Danny Garcia fighting Ivan Redkach. I'll go to you, Bo. Redkach was the guy that was originally supposed to fight Broner. Garcia was the guy that was originally supposed to fight Spence until Spence got into his accident. These two are facing each other. Tell me why I'm supposed to be particularly enthused about this bout.
Well, it's kind of like this, right? It's kind of like when you have this when you have this pain in your ass, and you go to see the doctor, and your worst case scenario is, oh man, I hope it ain't hemorrhoids, I hope it ain't colon cancer, and the doctor tell you, oh no, you just got a sore blister. Oh, okay. So you put some cream on it and it's irritating, but you're relieved that it ain't the worst thing that you thought. That's the only thing that could make you enthused about this, because it isn't the worst thing. It isn't the worst thing out there. Listen, Danny Garcia is just trying to stay busy, and because he's another guy that falls into that. He's actually beginning to fall into that Gary Russell trap, fighting once a year and disappearing. You also got Jarrett Hurd that's on the undercard, so it'd be good to see him and see what his mind is going to be like. And then you got that super bantamweight with Fulton, who's an up and coming cat. So it isn't so much as the main event as for me, it's the undercard. I'm looking to see how these guys perform. Because I want to see if Jarrett Hurd has recovered his mind, if he's cleared the slate and can move on past his trainer Ernesto, I think, Rodriguez. And I want to see if Stephen Fulton is really the real deal, because when you look at super bantamweight, that's no goddamn joke there. So you better be the real deal. So the main event for me, because Ivan Redkach was a cat that was coming up until Tevin Farmer just totally fucked that all up. So I'm not looking at this like oh, this is a good barometer for Danny Garcia. No, the fuck it's not. It isn't. But I understand it's a stay busy fight, right? So the undercard is more what I'm paying more attention to. Redkach, will we see an upset? We never know. This is boxing, but I think with what's on the table for Danny Garcia, maybe getting a Spence fight, or him and his father have been talking about, Spence.
I find it interesting that all the while before the accident, Angel Dog Garcia didn't say a damn thing about Spence, and now that he's in an accident and recovery from that, now he want to run his mouth. Okay.
Yeah, like, I'll be honest with you, the pleasant thing about Danny Garcia not fighting is we ain't got to fucking hear from Angel. That's the pleasant thing for me, man.
Now all of a sudden, over the past few days, where we still don't know about Spence and has he fully recovered. Now Angel Garcia want to run his mouth about him. But let me get off that. I'll go to you, Daniel, and Gail, your thoughts.
Okay, it is a similar situation where, they have to stay busy, because Danny Garcia got mentioned in a couple of fights. He got mentioned in the periphery of a Pacquiao fight. And Redkach he's a suitable opponent given the time that he's been off. It's not a situation where you're going to feel that he's ultimately going to be challenged. It's not an interesting fight, but at the end of the day, this is not going to be about Danny Garcia into it, at least to me. To me, it's just going to be seeing if his father, Angel Garcia, a Philly Puerto Rican, will be able to piss off the New York Puerto Ricans. Because it's been there. There have been instances around Brooklyn where some things may have happened. And we all know Angel Garcia, he's the LeVar Ball boxing. So That's the only thing that's going to be entertaining about this.
So
But
what are you saying, Daniel?
what I'm saying is I really don't care about that fight at all. At all. Right now, the only more Kyrie Irving's more entertaining than Barclays right now than Danny Garcia.
Yeah, with his mercurial self. I'll go to you, Gail. Any real interest in this fight?
×3. No. I'm not going to waste his time by getting into it. Jarrett Hurd's fight is absolutely the one to watch this weekend. He wants to make a statement. He's going to be in the ring for the first time with his new trainer, Kate Corona, which will be worth watching. Hurd claims he's gotten his eyes opened a lot about working on some things with Corona. Well, it'll be interesting to find out. And his opponent, yet again, another hungry guy wanting to make a statement who, we don't think's going to go Hurd, but we didn't think the Rosario was going to win either. And speaking of, Hurd said he still wants his rematch with Williams. Now, it'll be real interesting to see how Hurd looks this weekend and think about, all right, what does Williams look like this last weekend? Is that rematch next before the Rosario rematch, where there's a rematch clause? Going to be some interesting cards shuffled around. So that's by far the more interesting fight. Garcia, don't care. I haven't cared about him honestly for a whole long time. This is who's going to help.
Yeah. You was mentioning, Bo, another fight on this card. Stephen Fulton, he's fighting for in an eliminator at 122 pounds. For those who are uninformed, talk about him right quick.
Well, the thing about Fulton is because he's actually fighting another undefeated fighter, and I give Fulton a lot of credit. What he has been doing is he's been taking on these guys. You might not know who they are, you might not recognize them, but he's been taking on these guys who will give you work. And he's been, going in there. He's been knocking them out. Just before, I think he's fighting some cat named Arnold Cajega. Now, before him, he fought Isaac Avalon, and Isaac Avalon was undefeated. And what I liked about what he did was this was a guy, although he's undefeated, he's faced limited competition because he's one of those guys, fights in Mexico, and he got in there and he just brutalized. He just ran through this dude, brutalized, right? So I like that about him. And he's being mentioned in the division. He's being ranked number 7, I think, by one of the boxing organizations. I think he's ranked number 7. So, he's the dude that's up and coming in a division that has a lot going for it right now. When you look at the super bantamweight, junior featherweight division, you got and the guy he's fighting, that guy Arnold Kamal, I think he's ranked number 2 by the WBO, and that's Emmanuel Navarrete territory. So you got 2 guys that are ranked that's going at it that could boost their profiles. You got Ray Vargas, you got TJ Tahaney, you got Carlos Castro, Ronnie Rios, Julio Cejo, Daniel Roman, who's a unified champion. So if Stephen Fulton wants to make a statement that, hey, I belong there, then this is the fight where he's going to have to come. He's going to have to be very smart because the guy he's fighting has pop. He's undefeated. He hasn't tasted defeat. So he feels some kind of way too. And him being ranked number 2, he's not just going to hand that over to him. So you got a guy in there that has some pop. You got a guy in there that, he brings something to the table too. So Fulton's going to have to, display that. He's going to have to go to that next level to show that, hey, I belong. And, I'm interested. That's why I'm so interested in that fight, because fights like this, where you have one undefeated guy and another undefeated guy, one guy's going to have to raise his game. And that's when we realize, okay, this is the guy that belongs. So that's why I'm interested in this fight, because Arnold Calais is not an easy dude. Like, you don't get ranked number 2. And people, they looking at it saying, oh, because you can always look at the guy's level of competition. We did that with Miguel Burchell. But it's the thing is, when you're in there with guys that give you these rounds, when you're in there with guys that give you this work and you're constantly beating them, it's that you're taking that next step of your progression. So this is what I like about this fight.
Yeah, Fulton, I think 24, 25-year-old fighter, undefeated guy from Philly, I believe it is, 16, 17-0. So yeah, good fight, good test. good fight on the undercard. Low key, that people should keep their eye on. And I think we're going to end things on that note. Going to go around the panel here. Any more fights I want to talk about? No. Steve Rolls is fighting. No, thank you. Yeah, that's it. Jason Quigley, he's fighting Thursday. Yeah, no, thank you. So yeah, that's going to be
Hold
it
on,
for
Mike.
now.
You forgetting the best fight of the weekend, man.
What?
The great, the future Hall of Famer Caleb Truax is
Oh, hell.
Caleb Truax.
Oh my God.
He's gonna be in action, baby.
You know what? I can no. You know what? As much as fun Buzz having in that one, he's at least semi-serviceable. I can at least expect Caleb Truax to actually give a damn and actually put in the performance, unlike a certain Mexicano. So
you mean Gail's boyfriend?
Hey! Oh.
No.
Her microphone seemed to have worked pretty good there.
Yeah, what the fuck? No, but yeah, but I can at least expect Caleb Truax to actually care. So I'm at least in that area.
Fair enough. He does effort category. That's for sure.
Yeah,
but, you know,
I won't go ahead.
But give me Showbox from Iowa over that. I mean, geez.
Speaking of Showbox, let me see if I can get this up right quick. Give me a second, folks. I recapped this guy for Three Kings. Keep an eye on. If I can give me a quick second, let me pull him up right quick. Fighter by the name of Ergershov. I recapped his fight on Showbox. He defeated a fighter by the name of Estrella. Stopped him in 88 seconds. Beautiful body shot, straight left to the body. Ergershov, he's being trained by Sugar Hill in Detroit. He fought on the Showbox card. He wasn't the main event. He was an undercard bout, but something like 18-0 right now. 16 KOs. For older fans, if you remember a lightweight by the name of Orzabek Nazarov, nickname was Gussie, destroyed Joey Gamache, destroyed Leander Johnson, was upset by in France by Jean-Baptiste Memby. Some circumstances before that, as far as I'm concerned, led to that defeat. Defeated Dingon Tobella to win that lightweight title. If you're able to catch a fight of Ergershov on YouTube or Daily Motion, his style is very reminiscent of Gussie Nazarov. He's being handled by Salida Promotions, and they already talked about a fight between him and Josh Taylor. They feel with Ergershov, he would beat him right now. I think he's going to make his move in 2020 in the junior welterweight super lightweight division. So yeah, that's one guy to keep an eye on. I just want to make note of that before we shut things down. Going around the panel
Uzbekistan,
here,
right?
Yeah,
from Uzbekistan, right? Yeah, that there seems to be a reason, like within the last 2 years, if you got to pay attention to obviously the Rio Olympics, and now obviously this year coming up with the Tokyo Olympics. That particular country, Uzbekistan, is turning out fighters at a pretty alarming rate now. And they're fun to watch, and all of them tend to stick together. So it's going to be fun to watch.
Yeah, tall, 5'10.5" southpaw, 28-year-old. So be on the lookout for him. I'm going to go around the panel here. Begin the show starting with ladies first. Going to end the show, of course, with ladies first. Gil from Communities Digital News, for those who want to talk the sweet science. For those who want to talk media, because you do teach media on the side. For those who want to talk small business, and for those who want to mention her alma mater, San Diego State, ranked number 4 right now in the latest college basketball rankings. Let the folks know where they can find you.
Aztecs for life, baby. Aztecs. And we have a player that is extremely reminiscent of Kawhi Leonard named Malachi Flynn, worth worth a look. And they play tomorrow. CBS Sportsnet is carrying their games.
Yeah, last undefeated team left in Division One.
Last standing. Now they'll tie a record if they win tomorrow. They'll go 20-0, and the last team to do that was the team that Leonard was on in 2010, 2011. So, we're all looking at hoping history repeats itself. So we will see. And obviously, I'm in San Diego. I write for Communities Digital News, comdiginews.com. And you can find me on the Twitter and Instagram at PRPro San Diego.
Go to Daniel from the Inscriber for those who want to talk the sweet science, for those who want to talk the NBA, especially when it comes to the Miami Heat, who are really doing their thing in the Eastern Conference right now. I think they have got a chance to make a serious playoff run. Let the folks know where they can find you.
Yes, folks, you can find me on Twitter, Ruckus99. Finally trying to start to get the new year fresh. Got to let Joe Fresh for Boxing News move into their new place. And then we're going to get everything restarted. But definitely keep an eye out for the Inscriber. I think we're opening up another podcast network. And we're probably going to be credentialed for the Super Bowl. So I'm going to make sure to keep an eye on that. But we're definitely going to be credentialed to some other fights. I think the head guy, Robert Cobb, is trying to get credentials to the Super Bowl. And that, which would pretty be fun. And if I will say congratulations to the Kansas City Chiefs and congratulations to the San Francisco 49ers. It will be an interesting game. And yeah, hopefully everything catches up good.
Yeah, credentials to the Super Bowl. That's a dope look right there. Last but certainly not least, first of all, we want to give a shout out to Jacob, Gus, who are not able to make it this evening. Give a shout out to them, Jacob, JRATM, and semi-regular Wrong Real podcast, Gus from Corruption and Boxing. You know what he does in terms of the sweet science and music. Last but certainly not least, Bo from Truth and Facts About Sports, as well as the lieutenant of Three Kings Boxing. Oh, I see Bo has left. If you want to talk the sweet science, I just give his information out. You want to check him out on Twitter at, give me a quick second, folks. If you want to talk boxing and stuff with him, you can check him out. You can check out his writings over at threekingsboxing.com. If you want to follow him and talk, if you want to talk boxing with him on Twitter or whatnot, you can check him out on Truth and Facts Sports Talk at Truth, TRUTH_FACTBOX1. So there you go, on Twitter at Truth_FactsBox1. And you can check out his work over at Three Kings Boxing, which I also write for. If you want to talk the sweet science with yours truly, you know what it is on Twitter. Brother JR, at Brother JR76 on Twitter. As I said to begin the show, if you want to check out all information regarding Power Box Report, the blog page is the place to go to, p4bboxreport.wordpress.com. Check that link. Check the top right portion of the blog page. You'll find the links to where to find us on social media, where to find us on RSS feeds that carry podcasts. The donation links, PayPal, Cash Me. I see Bo. You're back. I thought you had left. I'm sorry.
No,
I didn't mean to give out your information for you.
Yeah,
I didn't mean to give out your information for.
Well, that's fine. I just want to send a special shout out and congratulations to those LSU Tigers for winning the national championship. More team deserving. I think the NCAA is messing with them. I think I don't have a problem with them getting handed money for demoralizing and beating the overrated.
So you okay with Odell Beckham Jr. Palming cops on the ass, huh?
No, I'm well, the Me Too movement have grown into the age of the beta male. But I'm okay with Odell Beckham Jr. giving the players, giving them some money for going out there and beating such an overrated, just highly pushed, under-deserving team as Clemson. I don't even know why they got a damn football program. They got a young boy with all that long hair, look like he a hippie from the 1970s. Look like his family smoked weed in the delivery room. That's some bullshit there. So it's good.
Look like half the LSU team, they do smoke weed. You just still mad that what Clemson did to Alabama the previous year.
So it's good to see a guy like Joe Burrow leave Ohio State and go to such a dominant, promising, well-respected team with the best talent in the world over there. LSU win that championship, and I just want to say Clemson went the way of the Dallas Cowboys, and so sad.
Hold up now. Hold up. Bro. Now you're going too far. Now you're going too far.
Bro. So when I look at teams like Clemson, they remind me of Philadelphia Fighters, all fluff and no stuff.
Oh man.
Let the record show. To quote Claire Huxtable, let the record show they did win it the previous year. They did win it 2 years before that. And unlike the Dallas Cowboys, at least they get there. And as far as LSU, that's one and done because they ain't going back. They ain't going back next year, and they ain't going back the year after that.
Well, yeah, that may be true. Well, if we're gonna go into this route in college football, yeah, there's a very, very good chance that Clemson is going to be the favorite next year. And there's a very, very good chance that Trevor Lawrence should be good enough where he should be a consensus number 1 overall draft pick in 2021. But at the same time, you never know what's going to happen with any SEC team, man. You never know if Nick Saban somehow convinces Tua to forego his draft wishes.
No, Tua's already announced he's going to the NFL, so.
I know.
Yeah, he's out.
But you never know what Nick Saban can do. He might try to screw the Miami Dolphins again one more time and try to convince him, no, you stay in school. No. If you go, you go to the Dolphins. No, we can't have that.
I don't know, man. 40 million guaranteed. It's hard for you to convince me to say no to.
Well, considering the fact that NFL contracts are not worth the toilet paper they're written on.
This is true.
I know what's going to happen next year. LSU not going to win it.
I got a question. Who's worse, Chavez or Antonio Brown?
Oh God, no! No. Okay, now we have to talk. We have to talk about the Logan Paul kid, don't we?
I just had to bring that up. Who is more pisses you off in your head, Chavez or Antonio?
I fear Antonio Brown suffered from CTE.
Let's put it to you this way. It has to be a particular type of crazy for a man like Drew Rosenhaus to say, I'm not going to represent you unless you get help. Because that's Drew Rosenhaus. And like, he's among the most Miami type agents that you can find. And for him to say, no, you're too crazy. Yeah, I'm kind of more scared of Antonio Brown, but because at least Chavez Jr., I at least I know what to expect. A lazy training camp, probably more than likely a lot more DoorDash deliveries late at night, and just flat out disappointment at the end. He's just flat out disappointment. I'll put it like this, and this will probably anger the entire city of Cleveland. Chavez Jr. has become the Cleveland Browns of boxing.
That shouldn't anger Cleveland. They should be used to that type of shit.
At least with Antonio Brown, he's always been, a diva, but at least he was productive on the field. Just the last couple of years, he just fell off the wayside.
Yeah.
Chavez Jr.
No, well, the main reason I say that's because, well, it is Ohio, and Ohio might not appreciate a city being compared to a Mexican.
Well, then hell, well, they might not appreciate it, but when you got Adrian Broner and Robert Easton Jr. representing you, you can kiss my ass about what you appreciate.
No. You know the dude that said that. No. That ain't Ohio. That's Kentucky. They from Cincinnati, but they from Kentucky.
That's
Yeah, that is true. Yeah, because they are very close to Kentucky, Cincinnati. So yeah, hop, skip, and a jump. So I think we're going to start shutting things down. That note, on the next episode, we will a lot of decent fights actually. That we'll talk about on the next episode. We will do a recap of Garcia and Redkach and the Jarrett Hurd fight, as well as maybe delve into some the Fulton fight with K-Guy. How you pronounce his name? My apologies for butchering his name. But we will also preview Demetrius Andrade making his return to the ring, fighting Luke Keeler, Tevin Farmer fighting Jojo Diaz. We talked about that a little bit. Intriguing bout in the 122-pound division is Danny Roman fighting a guy by the name of Atma Dalialev. Only less than 10 fights, but his amateur pedigree is vast, and he's one of these guys who's like a Lomachenko in a sense, and like a lot of fighters from the former Eastern Bloc, in which because they've had so many fights in the amateur system, they have much more experience than their record may indicate, and you just don't know with this guy that Danny Roman's fighting. He could very well win. I would be absolutely shocked if he wins. So that's a fight to keep an eye on, most definitely. And yeah, I think
shout out to Takeshi Inoue. He apparently beat some Chinese guy in Tokyo a little bit ago. Inside 2 rounds.
Yeah. He was so vast. That was a mismatch. I finally saw highlights of it. That was such a mismatch that you got nothing from it.
I know they got nothing from it. I'm not gonna expect a Japanese fighter to fight a tough Chinese fighter in Japan. That's just not gonna happen.
Yeah. So yeah, I think we're gonna end things on that note. I want to thank Gail, who joined us earlier on the show. For Gail from Community Digital News, Daniel from The Inscriber, both from Truth and Facts about sports as well as Three Kings Boxing. I am your host, Michael. This has been episode 278 of Pound for Pound Boxing Report. We will see you guys next time. Everyone have a good evening, a good night, and happy MLK Day.
Happy Martin Luther King Day.